Bar for Bar album reviews. Sadistik, L'appel du Vide. L'appel du Vide is the latest album from one of my favorite rappers, Sadistik. The title of this project translates to the call of the void and is the phrase used to describe the phenomenon we experience when we suddenly want to do something that would put ourselves in immediate danger, but we won't necessarily act on it. Kind of like when you're driving and you just get the urge to swerve into oncoming traffic or just go off a cliff. Given how intentional Sadistik's been with his titles and his projects overall, it makes sense that we see this call of the void throughout this project. Another way I like to think of the call of the void is something like controlled chaos, which we see on the track Gasoline. On the hook, Sadistik sings "Hold up, dousing flowers with the gasoline," which in itself is a very interesting picture to paint, but also lends itself well to the call of the void. It's not something that most people would actually do, but it's something that may just come to mind, like, sure, fine, I just want to light these flowers up. The call of the void is also seen on the track Mariana, named after the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest trench on the Earth that we're currently aware of. The void here is seen from Sadistik leading his guest down the trench, almost as if he's Charon leading souls to the afterlife. It's also seen from the idea that the void is something that we just don't know or understand as well. We refer to things like space as void, but I'd argue that's also true of places on Earth like the Mariana Trench where we haven't been able to really fully investigate or explore. We do also see some sort of chaos on the intro track, Modern Times, where Sadistik paints this bleak picture of an apocalyptic environment where it just kind of feels like everything's dilapidated. All that's really left is a room with a television, basically just on to drown out the sounds of the outside world. The way that the track comes in also with almost like a TV static sort of sound is really fitting because it does add to the drowning out of the outside world. The bleakness carries on to the track Bloodborne, which carries the same name of the video game and, if I'm not mistaken, is also one of Sadistik's favorite games as well. If you're not aware of the game, it's a FromSoft game, and they make the Dark Souls series of games which are notoriously difficult. And although this game is not part of the series per se, it does carry the same difficulty. Bloodborne, to my knowledge, as I haven't actually played it myself, is set in a very bleak environment as well. So it's pretty fitting to have it in this album, and also just the way Sadistik raps through it. The intro and bridge spoken bits also add quite a bit to the track because it sounds like it was grabbed straight from the game, and it really does help to add and create this atmosphere of Bloodborne. Not everything is full of chaos and void though. Limerence, which is a state of mind where you're infatuated with someone and then you just strongly desire those feelings to be reciprocated, brings us a more emotional track. Here it's pretty clear what Sadistik is talking about is due to limerence and just this overall feeling of wanting to be wanted. The track is also the shortest in terms of how long Sadistik raps for, and I think that's intentional. This track almost gives off this feeling of defeat, which really is brought on from the length of the verse and the instrumental. Like everything just kind of ties in together really well there. With Samsara, we have Sadistik being a bit more vulnerable, with the hook saying, "When I say I'm sorry, I'm shedding my armor." As a follow-up to Limerence, it does a good job because it takes that desire for reciprocated love and gives the listener more in a way to understand him. Sadistik, like many others, build up defenses to basically keep themselves protected from things which we see painted beautifully in the second verse. To show any sort of emotion or even apologize like he does in the hook is a big deal, and it's almost like he is exposing his true self. All of these ideas and themes culminate to bring us the final track, The Moon Smiled Back at Me. The first two verses are delivered in a way that's kind of reminiscent of Limerence and Samsara, but it feels like the feelings may be a bit more mutual at this point. Sadistik is almost trying to prove himself, it sounds like. There's a slight beat switch as well that brings a more aggressive sound, starting with "I saw God in a body bag." This part reminds me more of the chaos and call of the void, which we had seen through much of this album like earlier on. Having each aspect of this album touched on in this final track is great and really just reaffirms it as my favorite song here. I also do like how, as this track starts to fade away, it transitions really well back into the first track, Modern Times. Overall, this project was really solid. If you're a fan of Sadistik, you definitely won't be disappointed. Like I mentioned near the beginning, every project that he's put out has been intentional, and this is no different. Everything really ties in well together and fits the title of the album. Personally, upon the first few listens, I didn't pay too much attention to the title, but once I really started to think about it, things really did make much more sense, and it also does fit Sadistik's aesthetic as well. My top 3 tracks, just because there's only 7 and listing 5 is just basically the entire album, are The Moon Smiled Back at Me, Bloodborne, and Mariana, but honestly every track is really solid in their own ways. Every time Sadistik drops, he does something just a little different, and this album is no exception. Along with experimenting, he just keeps getting better and better with each project. I can't wait to see what he's got in store for us next. I do think I heard him mention an album with No coming later this year maybe, and if that's the case, I know that's going to be dope because Phantom Limbs was one of my favorite projects. That's all I have for this review though. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this album and what your favorite tracks are. Also, let me know what you thought of this structure. I decided to change it up a little bit. Normally I go really in depth with every track, but that tends to drag on, so don't know that everyone's here for it. So if you like that sort of style, let me know. If you like this sort of style, let me know. Or if you just want me to go in depth on any particular track, let me know as well. I have no problem doing lyric breakdowns. Also, I have done breakdowns for Gasoline and Samsara, so feel free to check those out as well. With that said, like and subscribe if you want to see more reviews and content like this. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe out there.